Ever stop and think that maybe, just maybe, what we're told about things isn't the whole story?
Yeah, like there are hidden narratives,
Yeah.
maybe even deliberate ones.
Exactly. Today, we're diving deep into some, well, pretty provocative claims. We're talking personal spiritual encounters, um, alleged alien deceptions.
And even suppressed medical breakthroughs, apparently. It's quite a mix.
It really is. Our sources today are pretty varied.
Hmm.
We've got firsthand accounts from a guy named Glenn Kennedy.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's research from Joe Jordan on alien abductions.
Okay.
And we'll also look into this figure, Royal Rife, and his supposedly suppressed medical tech.
So our mission today really is just to unpack all these different, sometimes challenging claims.
Right.
We want to pull out the main arguments, understand what the sources are actually saying.
Without us saying this is true or this is false.
Exactly. It's about getting informed on these perspectives, understanding their internal logic.
Yeah.
So let's jump in.
Okay, let's start with a really core claim from Glenn Kennedy. His belief, stated very directly, is that what we call aliens, they're actually demons.
That's a strong opening statement.
It is. And for him, it's not just theory. He talks about specific experiences. The first one happened late at night, like 2 or 3 a.m. in his office.
Okay.
He didn't see anything, but he felt this overwhelming evil presence.
Like a feeling.
Yeah, physical feeling. He said the hairs on his body stood up, felt like electricity trying to get into his head. Just a pure feeling of evil.
Wow. That sounds intense.
Very. But what's striking is he says it stopped instantly the moment he said, "Help me, Jesus."
So that immediate cessation after invoking Jesus is key to his interpretation then.
Seems like it.
It sets up this framework of, spiritual forces rather
Yeah.
than just unexplained phenomena. The impact of this unseen presence he describes, it's powerful, even without a visual.
And then there was a visual encounter. About 6 months earlier,
Huh?
he woke up suddenly from what he called a really bad dream. Something about a huge crocodile creature chasing him.
Yikes.
Shoots up in bed, and there, at the foot of his king-size bed, he sees this entity.
An entity, like an alien.
Describes it as 4 to 4.5 feet tall, big skull, big eyes, classic gray description almost. And he could see it clearly because it was a full moon.
Okay, so he sees this thing.
Yeah.
What happens? Is he terrified?
That's the really surprising part. He says he was not afraid at all.
Not at all. After waking from a nightmare and seeing that?
Nope. He said he just knew in my heart that it could not hurt me.
That's unusual for these kinds of accounts.
Definitely. And then the entity just dematerialized with sparkles. He even compared it to the Starship Enterprise beaming someone out.
Huh. Sparkles. Okay. So how did he interpret that encounter? Especially the lack of fear.
He believed the entity was actually feeding off his fear from the dream.
Okay. So the fear was the target.
That's his take, and he connected it to older ideas like that painting, the nightmare.
Oh, yeah, with a creature sitting on the sleeping person.
Right. He saw a parallel there, demons attacking people in their sleep. For him, this wasn't a new phenomenon.
So it fits into this historical, spiritual battle narrative he's building.
Exactly. And it leads to his main conclusion, which he says was confirmed through a very holy man.
Which is?
100% of anything that they're calling aliens are demons. They're all demonic. Period.
Wow. Okay. That's a definitive statement. No room for nuance there in his view.
None at all, according to the source. And here's where it gets maybe even more interesting.
No what?
He claims his own past interests actually opened the door to these experiences.
How so?
He talks about having an obsession with UFOs and aliens throughout my life. Says it was his first foray into knowing the government was lying. Project Blue Book, cover-ups.
Right. A common path for many people interested in UFOs.
But now he looks back and believes that very obsession opened up demonic doorways.
Interesting. So the interest itself becomes a vulnerability in his view.
Yeah. And he extends this to others in the field.
Like who?
Well, the source mentions figures like Stephen Greer and David Wilcock. Kennedy apparently believes they are deceived.
Deceived? Why?
Because, in his words, they're into New Age stuff, which he considers all demonic.
And New Age stuff includes?
Things like crystal pyramids, owning UFO videos and books, that kind of thing. He basically got advice, which he attributes to God, to throw all that stuff away. And he says when he did, he felt a sigh of relief.
So discarding those materials brought peace. It fits his narrative perfectly.
It does. And his solution, then, for dealing with all this, the entities, the deception.
Let me guess.
Yeah.
It involves Jesus Christ.
Bingo. Jesus Christ is the answer. He claims invoking Jesus can stop all alien abductions, any demonic activity.
But there's a condition, right?
Yeah, you need full faith and you need to change your life. It ties into that idea of spiritual warfare, like from Ephesians in the Bible.
Right.
Exactly. Which brings us to Joe Jordan's research. Kennedy uses this to sort of back up his claims.
Okay, Joe Jordan. What's his story according to the source?
Well, interestingly, he's described initially as a total atheist, someone who even made fun of Christians.
Oh, so that makes his findings potentially more compelling from Kennedy's perspective.
Right. So Jordan apparently did extensive research, collected hundreds of cases.
Cases of what?
Alien abductions. And he found something specific. Over 400 cases, apparently, where people experiencing an abduction asked for help.
From who?
From Jesus. In the name of Jesus.
And what happened?
According to Jordan's findings, as presented here, every single time the alien abduction stops.
Every single time. Out of 400 plus cases.
That's the claim reported. And this apparently flew in the face of what established UFO researchers were saying, that abductions couldn't be stopped.
Okay, that is a significant finding, if accurate. So did he share this widely?
Well, here's the twist. Kennedy claims Jordan tried to present this at UFO conferences. And the organizers allegedly shut him down, told him, oh, no, you can't talk about that.
Why not? What was the reasoning given?
Concerns about credibility, apparently, that talking about Jesus would damage the field's reputation.
So the interpretation of that response is...
According to the source, it's proof the UFO community is run totally by government agents.
Oh, wow. That's a leap.
Yeah. The claim is these agents only want the fear factor stuff out there.
And that mentioning Jesus disrupts that narrative, so it gets suppressed.
Exactly. Never are you allowed to talk about Jesus Christ, is the quote used.
So Jordan's research, the alleged suppression, it all reinforces Kennedy's core belief. These aren't aliens, they're demons, and invoking Jesus is the countermeasure they don't want people to know about. It connects back again to that Ephesians idea, spiritual warfare, using Christ's authority.
Precisely. So if these beings are demons, as Kennedy claims, and they can be stopped by Christians, what does that imply for, the big question? Why don't they just land on the White House lawn?
Ah, the classic question. Does Kennedy offer a theory on that?
He does. He suggests that back in ancient times, say ancient Egypt, these entities, these aliens or demons, they walked freely the earth.
And his evidence for that?
He points to things like hieroglyphics showing bird-headed people and other unusual figures.
Okay, so drawing on ancient astronaut theories, but giving them a demonic interpretation.
Right. But why don't they land openly now?
Let me guess.
Because
Because of the Christians.
You got it. The argument presented is, if they landed openly, Christians would rebuke them in the name of Jesus.
And they wouldn't be able to do jack squat. Is that the phrase used?
That's the phrase. They'd be rendered powerless by believers exercising spiritual authority.
So their current hidden approach, the abductions, the deception,
Yeah.
it's because they can't operate openly in a world with Christians who know how to resist them.
That's the theory presented, and it leads to a pretty dark conclusion in this section.
Darker than demons walking the earth.
The claim is that they, presumably the forces behind the deception, want to kill the Christians.
Clear the way.
Exactly. To remove the obstacle, so these aliens can eventually land, pretending to be benevolent saviors bringing advanced technology.
Wow. Okay. That's quite a scenario. A galactic spiritual conspiracy theory culminating in persecution.
It's definitely provocative. Now, hold that thought, because the sources take a bit of a turn here.
Oh, where do we go now?
From alleged spiritual deception and UFO cover-ups to suppressed health technology.
Okay, that seems like a completely different topic. How does it connect?
The connection seems to be the theme of suppression. Hidden truths the powers that be don't want you to know. This time, about health.
Got it. So who's the focus here?
A man named Royal Rife, described as a brilliant scientist born way back in 1888.
Okay, Royal Rife. What did he do?
Invented some incredible microscopes, apparently. By 1920, the source says he had the only microscope that could actually see a live virus.
See a live virus in 1920. That would be groundbreaking.
And by 1933, he'd built one that could magnify objects 60,000 times. Just phenomenal power for the time.
Incredible. But the microscopes weren't his main thing, were they? It was about frequencies, right?
Exactly. His method, as the source explains it, was about destroying viruses and microbes using resonant frequencies.
Can you break that down? Resonant frequencies.
Think of an opera singer hitting a specific note and shattering a glass, right?
Yeah.
The idea is that every microbe, every virus, has its own unique vibrational frequency, its note. Rife supposedly figured out how to identify these frequencies.
And then use a device to project that exact frequency back at the microbe.
Right. Vibrating it intensely at its own resonant frequency until it basically disintegrated, shattered like the glass.
Okay, that's a fascinating concept. Destroying pathogens with vibration. Did it work?
Well, according to the source, spectacularly, they cite a 1934 study conducted by a committee from the University of Southern California.
At USC, what did they study?
They used Rife's frequency device on 16 supposedly terminal cancer patients.
Terminal cancer patients. And the results.
The claim is dramatic. Within 90 days, 86.5% of them, that's 14 out of 16, were declared completely cured.
Completely cured from terminal cancer in 90 days.
That's the claim. And they apparently adjusted the treatment slightly, and the remaining 2 patients were also cured within another 4 weeks.
So, a 100% recovery rate for terminal cancer patients in 1934.
According to this account, yes.
If that's true, that's world-changing. Why isn't Rife technology standard practice everywhere?
Well, that's where the suppression narrative comes in, echoing the earlier themes.
Right. What allegedly happened to Rife?
The source claims his life's work, his equipment, it was all seized. His company was bankrupted in the corrupt legal system.
So powerful forces moved against him.
That's the allegation. His work was basically forgotten, buried by what the source calls a crooked medical system and the fake news.
So the narrative is very similar to the UFO suppression claims, a revolutionary truth deliberately hidden.
Exactly. A potentially game-changing technology kept from the public, presumably for reasons of profit or control within the established medical industry.
Is there any mention of this technology existing today?
Yes. The source claims there's a Russian company, no specific name given, that has created a medical device based on Rife's principles.
And what does this modern device supposedly do?
It's purported to cure over 100 forms of parasites and many diseases, again, using that principle of resonant frequency.
Shattering the pathogen's shell, like the opera singer and the glass.
That's the analogy they use. And for anyone whose interest is piqued by this part of the story,
Yes.
the source mentions a free ebook called Suppressed Health Secrets, Secret Cures You Must Know.
Okay, so that offers more detail on Rife and potentially other similar claims.
Presumably. So, wow, we've covered a lot of ground here.
We really have. It's been quite a journey.
Yeah, from these really intense personal accounts of encounters with what Kennedy calls alien demons.
Right, through the alleged cover-ups in the UFO community surrounding Joe Jordan's research.
And then shifting completely to this story of Royal Rife and potentially revolutionary health tech being deliberately suppressed.
The common thread really does seem to be this idea of hidden truths, of powerful deceptions operating behind the scenes, whether spiritual or physical.
It is. So thinking about all this, what really stands out to you listening to these claims laid out?
That's a good question to ask yourself. How do you process these really diverse, really challenging ideas? You've got the nature of aliens redefined as demons, the power of faith presented as a literal weapon against them,
Right.
and then this whole concept of vital knowledge, whether about UFOs or health, being actively hidden from us. It's a lot to reconcile.
It definitely is. These sources paint a very specific picture of reality, one that asks you to question a lot of established narratives.
That really pushes you to think critically about what you accept as true.
So here's a final thought to leave you with, kind of building on that.
Okay.
If knowledge is power, like these sources suggest, power against unseen forces, power against entrenched systems,
Then what?
then what other deceptions might still be out there waiting to be uncovered? And maybe more importantly, what kind of personal authority might you actually hold in challenging them?